Hello, my lovely friends. Julianne here of Julianne Annette Art. Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. Today we're going to look at my June completed pages video. I think I have 7 completed pages plus 3 little bonus pages. And I'll also show you my whips that I worked on. So let's start with the whips, and we're going to start with the absolute train wreck that I did in Nice Little Town 13, because I've been so excited to color in this book, and I had really great intentions of, like, you know, you have your vision, and I was so excited to color in it, and then I did this, and this bright red. I don't know, I really pictured cute little red shingles on a cute little yellow house. The yellow is a bit too yellow, but I can work with that. But the red, I used my Touch alcohol markers for the basing, and there is a coral red and a coral pink, I think they are. And so the coral red is this really lovely pale faded red, and so I thought I could use that to base it and then go in over top. But I accidentally used the coral pink instead, and that was just a really bright red. So then I went back over it with the blender to try to fade it out a little bit, and then it just made it more neon. And so then I ended up I did shade it a little bit with the pencil, so you can see it looks better than it did. Yeah, it looks better than it did. I will come back to it. Looking at it now, it doesn't look nearly as bad as I thought it did when I left it. I'm quite confident that I can make it work, but I was so disappointed in how it looked. It's just, it wasn't the look I was going for. And I even considered just making it a nighttime scene, like they're just having a little nighttime swim. But again, that's not really how I envisioned it either. So, I'll get back to it. And I'm not going to leave it for too long because I don't want to. And like I said, I don't think it's so terrible that I can't finish. It's just not how I wanted it to be. So I was a little disappointed. So that is that one. Nice Little Town 13 by Tatiana Bogema-Stilova. And then my next, let me get that off to the side. My next whip is in Aries World Literature, and Geordie Colors and Kate's Coloring Haven were doing this as a project book, and I reached out to them and asked if I could join them, and they said yes, I could. So they're a couple pages ahead of me, and their June page was the North Wind and the Sun. So this is as far as I've gotten. This paper is so toothy. I had no concept of how toothy it was because I haven't colored an Erie before. So I used just colored pencil on the Sun, which I think the Sun turned out really good and I'm quite happy with, but it took me so long and it killed my hand just to cover up the tooth. So then I reached out to Jo of Geordie Colors, and she was saying that she based everything with Inktense. And so then I tried basing with watercolor, and it's a little bit messy, but I think I'll smooth it out when I get to go over it with the colored pencil. Particularly the coat is a little blotchy, but I'm confident I can sort that out. So I'm hoping to finish this in the next couple of days, and then get on to the July picture, which will be the fox and the, what is it, the fox and the goose, I think. Or is it the fox and the stork? I don't know. The fox and this bird. I read the story of it, but I don't remember what bird it's supposed to be. I think it's a stork. So yeah, I do have a plan for the rest of it. I think I should be able to finish off in the next couple of days. And I'd like to get, like I said, I'd like to get this one done. My hope is to start working on the pages. They have done a couple pages that I haven't. So I'd like to get caught up on those as well. But I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself for July because I realize that I don't do well with the pressure on me. And yeah, I want to just keep it relaxed and keep it a little bit open. I will get to them when I get to them. My next whip, so Emily, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Maybe. There we go. I don't know if that changed at all. Emily from eArt Studios and I have started Ivy and the Yankee Butterfly as a project book. And so we're just going to start it from the beginning and work our way through. And so my whip is the title page. I think she's finished her title page. I'll probably show the pictures, her pictures next month because she has been moving and her book was packed away, so she wasn't able to get to, she finished her title page, but she hasn't gotten to her next pages. So I'll show all of her pages next month once mine is complete as well. But I'm really happy with my start on the title page, and I'm really happy with how this copper looks. I think, yeah, I'm quite happy with how it's looking, and I have a vision for this book. Like I like the ones when people really fill in a lot of the space and don't just leave all this white space open. So that's kind of my plan. So I think we're not necessarily going to do a double page spread every month. Sometimes we'll give ourselves a couple months for it because we just want to be able to enjoy it and not be and not feel the pressure, right? We don't want to take the joy out of it. So that's my whip, and then we get to my first actual completed pages for the month, which is the nameplate page and the little intro page here. So I colored them in, I think I actually colored it with my Arteza watercolor pencils for all the leaves and the butterflies. And then I just kind of went over, they didn't feel quite complete, so I went over with chalk pastel. And there's actually like 2 shades of green and a yellow, but you can't really tell, it all just looks green. And I'm quite happy with it. I'd seen a video where someone colored the butterfly to look the same all throughout, and I kind of wish I had thought of that, but I know that I don't want a red butterfly throughout. So the butterfly might have a new look going forward and then remain the same throughout the rest of the book. Sorry, I needed a drink of water there. Okay, so that is finished page 1 and 2 in Ivy and the Yankee Butterfly. And then next is from Enchanted, and this was a whip that I had started in May, and it was supposed to be for the rainbow prompt for Elm Colors mermaid hashtag, which I don't remember the name of the hashtag, but then I just made her a pride mermaid because I thought that works too. And so I colored it all with my Arctics colored pencils, or a mix of my Arctics and my Color colored pencils. I used a reference for doing these. I decided this looked like a sea urchin shell, and so I just kind of made them all like sea urchin shells. And I used a paint pen for going over the black lines of the water spray. And then I used my glitter markers for going over the seaweed here. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's quite glittery. I also used the glitter over the starfish. And then I used a white paint pen to go over these pearls. And then I went over the white paint pen with a nail polish, and it ended up sticking to the page here a little bit, and then it just stuck again. So I guess I need to put a sheet of paper in between when I have nail polish. And then the other thing that I did, I had tried to use my gel pens to outline, or like to go over all the black lines of her scales. So it turns out my gel pens, well, they were dollar store gel pens, so I'm not surprised, but they don't cover the black lines at all. Like, there's no opacity to them. And so I didn't like the look of them. They were just kind of going over the colors instead of covering the black lines like I wanted. So then I just used a paper towel, and because I had burnished my colored pencil, the gel pen actually just came right off with a paper towel. But what it did was it left this little glittery film kind of all over her scales and her tail, which I think is really cool. It was an unintended effect, but I like how it looked. So yeah, I'm quite happy with her. I think she looks really good. When I first started her tail, I thought it looked a little too stripy, and I wasn't sure if I was gonna like the way that it looked. But yeah, I'm quite happy with the overall effect. And so that is the Enchanted Coloring Book by Marjorie Sarnett. And yeah, so then next we have Alien Worlds. And so the Alien Worlds, there is the Alien Worlds data report on Instagram that Candace from Happy Catastrophe started. And so they're a group of space travelers, and we've come up with our space names and ship names, and it's a really fun group chat. And yeah, I was really excited to be able to join, and the group has already grown so much since I've joined. So I colored the title page, and I used soft pastel for basically everything. I used just, yeah, soft chalk pastel for basing the aurora and the planet, and just a little bit of color reflection on the ship. I've used soft pastel for basing the title words, and I went over it just with a little bit of colored pencil, just to deepen the shading. And I also went over this aurora with the colored pencil, and I think I even went over all of this. It's just gone over with first the soft pastel and then the colored pencil, and then I just outlined this with my Marie's gel pen, because the Marie's is way better than my dollar store ones. Yeah, I know it's really simple, but I'm quite happy with how it turned out. I really like the color palette I went with. I found the ship really hard to know what to do with, to know how to shade. Like, some people in the group have done these amazing colorful ships. Like, somebody did a Christmas themed ship. Someone's doing a Star Wars theme throughout her whole book. I found the ship the hardest to do, and so I probably will come back and touch up the ship, maybe add my name to it. My explorer name is Captain Wild, and my ship is the USS Magpie. So I'll probably end up putting my ship name on here, and yeah, giving it some color, but I kind of need to be inspired for what to do. So for now it's finished. I'm calling it complete, but at some point I probably will come back and touch that up. The only thing, I just used colored pencil without going over with any soft pastel, was just the glow from the rockets here. So I think I'm going to skip these pages for now, because I do have a plan for them, but it is ambitious, and as you'll see shortly, my last ambitious project really slowed me down a lot and made it so that I didn't get much done this month. So I think I'm going to skip all of these pages and go to this one next. Or I really, really want to just come to this page, but I might try this one. And I'm not sure how I'm going to do it yet. I do visualize how I'm going to do this. So we'll see which one actually gets done next. I will do a July plans video, so I'll talk a little bit more about that in there. But for the month of June, I had so many things that I wanted to color, and I really didn't plan it very well, or I just tried to spread myself across too many things at once, and that doesn't work for me apparently. I know some people can have several coloring projects on the go, but I think I need to focus on just one at a time, or potentially two, like if I'm using paints that need to dry or something. I think I can bounce between two projects, but more than that, I get bogged down and I get aimless. And so I will be doing a July plans video next, so keep your eyes open for that. And I'm hoping to have a more productive July than I had for June. So our next book is Mythographic Aer, and by Joseph Kattenbag. And I did this as a buddy color with a Facebook friend. She hasn't been able to complete her page yet, but that's okay. So we did this owl page, and I chose a barred owl. From the moment I saw the page, I knew it had to be a barred owl. I'm in BC, Canada, and I used to live basically in Vancouver. And I moved up here with my partner, I think about 5 years ago. And where we live now in the interior of BC is it's small town. We're in the mountains. It's very rural. Rural? No, yeah. Anyway, it's the mountains and it's the trees and it's this small town, and I've never lived in a place like this before, and it's really cool. And so we were driving on this road at dusk, which is 3 p.m. here in October, and we're driving down the road, and an owl comes out and basically T-bones our truck. And so we had to pull over, and this owl is just laying in the road. My partner has to get out and scoop up this owl, and it's a barred owl. And we bring it to the side of the road, and we're both crying and sobbing. And I phone our wildlife. There's a bird sanctuary, and so I phone them, but then the owl gets up on its own and it flies into a tree, and we went the next day to check on it. And by 2 days later, it was gone from the tree, and it had moved on. So we trust that it flew away and recovered. But it was a barred owl, so they have quite a special place in both of our hearts. So I knew that I had to make it a barred owl, and I think I did pretty good with the stripes of it. I based it with my Arteza watercolor pencils, but then I did use some of the Color. I think I based everything with the Arteza watercolor pencils, except for the background. The background I just went in straight with colored pencil, which was way more work than I realized it was going to be. And the gold here, I didn't base with watercolor. That was just straight colored pencil. So, I really like how the pages turned out, getting the antique look to them kind of thing. And I'm really happy with how the gold looks. I'm actually quite happy with the page. The thing that I was the most uncertain about was the smoke. And so I had done that with colored pencil, and then I used white paint pen to go over all the lines in the smoke, including all the shadow lines, because I didn't feel like they were appropriate. So I wanted to get rid of them. And then it looked kind of flat, And so then I went over them with some light blue and light violet shimmery watercolor paint. I'm not sure if you can see the shimmer at all. I kind of wanted it to be subtle anyway. There's a few little splash marks, but that's okay. So yeah, I'm quite happy with the overall effect of this page. I tried to make the arrowhead look like obsidian. I think it just looks a bit more like stone, but again, I'm happy with it. I think the smoke is the part that I'm least happy with, but even at that, I'm content. I'm quite happy with the page. And Joseph Kattenbang is he my favorite mythographic? I can't say that he's my favorite because I love Fabiana Attanasio as well. But I'm really excited. I think this is my first page of his that I completed. So that's pretty exciting. So that is Mythographic Aer. And then next, we have Lost Ocean by Joanna Basford. And this is the page that bogged down my entire month. I'd been having this idea that I wanted to put in, you know, like add embellishments to the pages in Joanna Basford books lend very well to that. And I had been wanting to add Disney characters. And so when Megan from Disney Meg's Coloring made her June plans video, and she talked about her birthday month prompt, and it was the, what was it? It was companions. Let me just look up the name of the hashtag here. I think it was Color Disney Companions for Meg's birthday 2024. And so I thought, oh, this is a great opportunity to make my plan happen. And so I put Flounder and Sebastian on this page, and all it had was just the little diagonal pattern of little fish and seaweed. And so I have another video where I show how I put Flounder on there, and I had already done Sebastian and the rock and coral. I did use the seaweed from that page to add these, but then I did end up adding, I think I added a couple of these just drawing them myself because I decided that it was, in fact, I think I added this one myself as well. Because I realized that I could just draw these wavy lines of seaweed more effectively than tracing them from the from my printout page. So I colored everything. I colored these guys with what just with colored pencil, a mix of Arteza and Brute Fooner. I colored Flounder with the colored pencil. I think everything was colored pencil. The seaweed and the rock were the Arteza watercolor pencil. And then I went over the water completely with acrylic paint, just like the dollar store tubes, or, you know, the dollar store bottles of acrylic paint that come in those little bottles. And I went over all the water, but it was very flat, and it was just like one-dimensional, one color. And so then I thought I would go over it with watercolor, because I figured that the acrylic paint would kind of give a base that the watercolor could go over without warping the page too much. The page is warped, but you know, it's not as bad as it could be actually. And so I went over with the watercolor. I kind of went too deep at the base here, and it was kind of a mess, and I kept having this pooling, and I was dabbing with paper towel. And then I realized at the end that I had gotten the watercolor paint had transferred onto Flounder's face a little bit in the paper towel print. And so then I tried to wipe it away, and then it smudged all of his mouth colors across his cheek, and then I tried again to wipe that away, and then it ended up tearing the paper a little bit here. I mean, you can still see it's different there at his mouth. I nearly cried when I did that, and I had to put it away. And then I ended up going back at it a couple days later because I was quite determined to finish it before the end of June. I really wanted it to be completed in June. So I just touched up the colored pencil a little bit, and then what's funny is because the paper had torn here, and it ended up being toothier. So then the yellow looks a little bit brighter, but whatever, it's okay. I also went over all of the watercolor with the wet brush again, just to kind of smooth it out and get rid of the blotchiness and try to take out some of the over darkness of the bottom. I think that worked out well. I had painted over all the little white bubbles, so I went back in and added them with a Sakura jelly roll, and I went back over some of the lines of the little seaweed vines. I went back over them with some just a little fine liner pen, like this guy, the Micron pen. And I also went over the goldfish and the shells and the two fish at the top and bottom. I went over them with some metallic or shimmery watercolor paint. So it was a lot of work. It was an absolute labor of love. It bogged me down this month so much and took so much more time than I thought. The tediousness of painting around all of this with the tiniest of brushes. Like, where's the brush that I used? I used this brush. I don't know if you guys can see how tiny that is, but that's what I used for getting in all around here. And I did that with the acrylic paint. And I started to do it with the watercolor down here. And then I decided, you know what? This stuff is supposed to be underwater. I'm just going to do the watercolor right over it, which is why you can see there's a little bit of bluish. But that's okay. I think that's appropriate because everything has the tinge of the color and the color of the water when it's underwater. Like, nothing looks bright on the seafloor. So it was a labor of love. It took me forever. It really bogged me down, and I don't want to paint anything this detailed again for a really long time. If I was painting all of these, like in an ideal world, I think what I should have done, if I was to do it again, would be to paint over all of this with an acrylic base, get my blend for the water, and then go back over all of these, because you could still see the outlines of it. That's how I was able to get, well, actually, no, I copied from a picture that I had taken of the blank page before. But to go back over these with a fine paintbrush after making the base, I think would have been better. Then I could have just based the whole thing with a watercolor and made a nice blend and made it quite watercolory looking. But I didn't think of that before. But, you know, that's what we do. We learn, right? We try things, we see what works, we see what doesn't. Overall, I'm still super happy with it. I absolutely love how Sebastian looks. I really like the shading that I did on it. I love this little coral here. I think it looks really cool. I like the shading on that. This front half of the rock looks great. This back half of the rock, But again, I'm still happy with it. And I think this is still probably my favorite page of the month. So, even though it nearly made me cry and nearly made me want to give up. And next, so this one is a little bit of a cheat because I did not color it in, well, I colored it mostly in June, but I didn't get it finished until I finished it on July 2nd. but it was a buddy color with Jess from the Coloring Bumblebee. And so Mythographic Magical Earth by Joseph Kattenbang. When I watched her June plans video, she had showed that this was a work in progress, that she had been stalled on. And so this was an untouched book for me. So I reached out to her and asked if she wanted to work on that and do it together. And so, so like I said, I had based it all in alcohol marker, but I hadn't finished the shading, and I wasn't really happy with how it was looking. I'm going to zoom you in a little bit here. I had based it all, the way that I had done the flowers were really bright pink, and I'm a literal thinker, and I know I've said this before, and you're probably going to hear it quite a bit from me, but you know, I see these plants and I'm like, oh, I know a plant that has that shaped leaves, so I have to make it look just like that. Like, it's hard for me to think outside of the box. It's hard for me to do something with different colors than just a very, oh, this is what it looks like in real life, so this is what I have to make it look like. And so it is hard. It's hard for me to not think literal. And so by the time I had based all of this, it just looked like a splodge of color. Like there was no cohesion. There was no, it wasn't harmonious. And I wasn't happy with it, which is probably why it took me so long to go in with the shading. And I shaded it and I was happy with it. And, you know, I had this vision for this little brick house and how it was all going to look. But it was, these flowers were such a bright blue leaning pink, and it was just making me so unhappy still. You can see on the back here how different pink they were. So I ended up just going over them with yellow, and by making them a warmer yellow toned pink versus the bluer toned pink, it just made all the difference of bringing it together. I had also based, because I wasn't happy with the picture anyway, I had gone over this whole background just with yellow or creamy kind of colored pencil, and I was just calling it done. That was good enough. I wasn't going to take it any further. And I had taken a picture of it and I sent it to Jess. And then looking at the picture, I was like, oh God, that looks so incomplete. And so then I decided I would go over it with some blue alcohol marker. And I think that really did make the difference. I'm pretty happy with it in the end. It's a learning lesson. I need to think about my colors, I think, ahead of time a little bit more. Like these vines, I think I went in such a deep green for the basing that I didn't really have very far to go with shading. And like some of it is still fairly flat for me, not as shaded as I would like, but I'm happy with it, and it was definitely a learning lesson. I will move it over, and in editing, I will figure out how to, I'm going to actually zoom out first. Maybe. I'll figure out how to insert Jess's picture here, and you can see what hers looks like. And I really loved hers. I think she did great. She followed a color palette, and that's the trick. I think I definitely would. I'd love to get the Sarah Renee Clark color cubes, but they're a little bit pricey, and I'm a little bit not making so much money, so that's not in my near future anyway. So yeah, that's the Mythographic Magical Earth by Joseph Kattenbang. I'm going to take a drink of water. And so that's my completed pages, but we have a little bonus because my, sorry, my nieces have been over a couple of times through the month, and the one niece is 8. And so my mother-in-law and my niece and myself have done little group buddy colors together. And so the first weekend that she was here, we did these ones. I'm gonna just sort them out here. So each time my niece has chosen the pictures that we do. And it is all just on printer paper, and it's all with marker. I'm trying to use exclusively alcohol marker, which is the Touch alcohol markers, but my mother-in-law also has, what is it, the Heathrone 100 dual tip markers, I think. So there's a little bit of that. I think they used a little bit more of those markers. I definitely used the fine tip for doing the hatching on this basket. So these pages are from Ava Brown's 100, I think it's like Country Seasons book. And my niece, she had this vision. She wanted to color something with like a wheelbarrow or something. But those ones were a little too detailed. And so we did this. So this is my page. And like I said, it's all with my Touch alcohol markers. A little bit of white Posca for this. I really like how I did. I'm not sure if it translates, but for this metal watering can, I had based it with a kind of warm gray. And then I went in with a little pale pink and a little pale blue for this shading, and I think it looked really cute. I wanted an off-white bucket, but I don't have an off-white, so it is what it is. And the basket, like I said, I based it with the alcohol marker, and then I just went over the hatching with the fine lines. I'm taking these as an opportunity to practice my blending with the alcohol markers because I'm really not great with alcohol markers. They're a huge learning curve, I think. And so like I said, these are just printer paper. I'm choosing to do them on printer paper because I have the Nina 67-pound cardstock, but it's quite thirsty. And so I don't want to use all that alcohol marker on coloring on that. I'd rather just try to practice the blending with the printer paper. Yes, it's going to bleed a little bit, but for the most part, our pictures have like thick enough black lines to prevent it from being super noticeable. So this is my page. This is my niece's page, and she was so excited. She had this idea of she wanted to put a positive message on her little planter, and she gave this little name brand little ones to the boots. And you know, here, like, I just made mine wet, like it looked like some water spilled in the grass. She made hers a mud puddle, and then she put these mud splashes on her boots, and it was really cool to see her being creative and to think of different things. And you know, I've actually just noticed something right here, is that she added this flower in all by herself, which I didn't even notice until just now, but she drew in this flower. So yeah, it's really fun to see her be creative and to see her think of these things that you know, I don't think of. This is my mother-in-law's. Now, she would like me to preface and say that she is learning. Alcohol markers are new for her. She does paint. She likes to paint with acrylic paint, and she is definitely the type of painter that you know, she just wants to go with it. She doesn't want to be tedious and take all this, like, the fine details, but she can make something a bit more abstract, or, you know, she likes to play and she likes to explore with the color. And so this was actually quite new for her, even though she is very artistic. And so she was trying to play around and figure out how to do a little bit of shading, or how to do, like, you know, with the flowers here, she did try some blending. And you'll see in her later pictures that we just did this past weekend how much she's already improved since this one. So yeah, these ones we did at the beginning of June, and then the next ones were actually just, like I said, just this past weekend. We just had a holiday weekend here in Canada. It was our Canada Day, which is Canada's birthday. And so we had my nieces here for the whole weekend, and we did our Canada Day festivities. So this was our next page that my niece chose to do. This is out of Hannah Lynn's Maui Mermaids and something or other. Can't remember the name, I'm sorry, but I know it's the Maui Mermaids one. I have it as the PDF. So this was my page. Like I said, I was really wanted to work on my blending and practicing with that. I think her skin is a little too yellow and a little bit too close to her hair color. But I'm really happy with her hair. I really like how I did the shading. I don't think it translates as well. Just let me, I need to put on my glasses. Yeah, it doesn't really translate as well to the camera. I think there's a warmer honey shade to her hair that the camera doesn't quite pick up. And I think also her skin is a little bit different, more yellow on the camera than it actually is in person. Her eyes, I based them with the colored pencil, or no, I did not. There's no colored pencil involved. I based her eyes with alcohol marker, and then I went in to do the irises just with a whole bunch of fine lines with the fine tip of the Heathrow markers. And I really like how they turned out. I think it's really cool. And there was a lot of blending with the lava. And then I used a little bit of paint marker here to cover up the black lines and to make her highlights, and then a little bit of paint marker to try to make a highlight on her lip, and then I just smudged it. I'm pretty happy with it. I think it's really cute. It makes me happy to look at, so that's good. And then we have my mother-in-law's and my niece. So neither one of them wanted to make the volcano a volcano. So my niece decided to make it a waterfall. And so she did like the water splashing up top and the waterfall. And she wanted to do a little bit of makeup on her. So she did some blush. She had actually done the lip and gone in with a little bit of a dark mark to try to make that divot that some people have in the center of the lip. And it looked pretty cool, but she wasn't happy with it, so she covered it up with some paint pen. And she just had this vision of these blue and purple streaks, and then she did use Posca on her highlights. She tried to go in with a little bit of black lines for the iris, but she wasn't happy with that. But once she put in her highlights, she was quite content with it. And then this is my mother-in-law's. So you can already see the improvement that she had based on her other one. She, again, didn't want to make it a volcano. So this is actually supposed to be a red flower that she decided to do. And then she made this kind of like a lake. And yeah, So that's that one. And then our last one that we did is from Ava Brown. It says here from the book Cute Animals, but it's actually, ours is from her 100 Greatest Hits book. And so again, I based it with alcohol marker. Now I think with this one, it's entirely alcohol marker except for the paint pen. I really had this vision of it being quite fantasy colors and really pastel. I wanted the little hedgehog to be quite pastel. And so I went over some of the black with a pink paint pen to try to make his quills a little bit more pinkish. And I really wanted him to have like these blue and pink and pastel highlights. It didn't really translate to how I envisioned it, but that's why some of his shadows here are a little bit blue. I'm not so good with not smudging paint pen. Apparently that happens a lot to me. And I find it really hard to blend large areas with the alcohol marker. But aside from that, I'm pretty content with it. I think the snail is cute. We have some white Posca highlights for the eyes, and I used some pink Posca for highlighting on these little small mushrooms. And I think there's a little white Posca dot on this guy. And then this one is my niece's. So she decided she wanted to make the rainbow background and this lovely colorful snail. And then she also used white Posca on, she used white Posca, or not, yes, the white is Posca, the other ones are just paint pen. So she used the white Posca on the little highlights on the mushroom. And then, like you can see here, I think these were water drops, and then these are the patterns on the mushroom. But because she had made these the spots of the mushroom, so she actually used a paint pen to go over the lines here so that it was just a solid color red for the mushroom. And she was really working on her blending here in the leaves, which I think is really cool. And her leaves down here as well. And then she went for the traditional color with her hedgehog. And then my mother-in-law, I think she gave up a little bit by the time she was finishing her hedgehog, but she really worked hard on blending with her background and with her mushroom, the small mushrooms and the big mushroom, and working on her blending on her leaves. And I think you can really see the improvement of each picture, which I think is really cool. And then of course her cute little pink snail. And I think she did go with the blue to make it like water drops. Yeah, so that was our fun buddy colors we did at home over this past weekend, and then also the weekend earlier in June. So there'll probably be more of those buddy colors with my niece and my mother-in-law going forward. I hope you guys don't mind seeing them, because we do have a lot of fun when we do it. And my mother-in-law and I get so much joy out of seeing my niece with her creativity and the ideas that she has, and just the way that she thinks outside of the box, right? Like, kids don't have the same constraints that we have as adults. So it's really cool to just see what she thinks to do. So I think that is everything. I'm going to say that my favorite page for the month is still my Sebastian and Flounder, wherever they are. Yeah, I'm still absolutely thrilled with how this turned out. as much grief as it caused me, and near tears and small tears. But I'm really, really happy with how it turned out. So yeah, this is still the favorite of the month. And so that will be everything for this video. Like I said, I'm going to do a July plans video because I was quite aimless this month with just trying to be working on too many things, and I felt more spread thin when I had more projects on the go. So I don't want to do that to myself for July. I want to just kind of have a bit more focus. So thank you for watching. Thank you for spending your time with me. And if you are not already subscribed and you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. Please give it a thumbs up if you like it. And I will see you next time. Have a wonderful day and be kind to yourself. Bye-bye.